This is week 5 of a 6-week program that I change up. And with no further ado, we'll get into some breathing. You can do the breathing sitting, lying face down, face up, or even curled up in a bit of a ball with my forehead supported. I think I'll give that a go today. So for about a minute, we're just going to focus on deep breathing, trying to create some gentle intra-abdominal pressure as you breathe in the abdominal cylinder and down into the hips and pelvis, getting a little stretch in the low back, especially with the position I'm doing. Okay, enjoy. After your next breath cycle, let's take it to hands and knees, and we'll work on some cat-cow, flexing and extending the back. Just take some time to spread the fingers and distribute the weight through your fingers and hand, not just at the base of your wrist. As you start to round your back up, just tuck your toes. Give yourself a little stretch by pushing your hands and knees away from each other. And then slowly relax the feet. Roll through each vertebrae of your back, dropping the chest and gently looking up. You can pull your hands and knees towards each other to see how that changes what you're sensing through your back. So here we go. Tuck and round up. Release the feet and roll through. After your next breath cycle, we'll come down to lie on the front side with the elbows underneath the shoulders, and just take a moment here to gently turn the head to the left and to the right, trying to do some ear tilts. Just loosening up, not forcing anything. Today we'll take it right into our Mackenzie rolls. So I'm going to start with my left knee and then bend my knee and lift it and roll away, making sure that I am centered in my shoulder, so not shrugged. I'm pushing some weight into the floor. From this position, I can spread the fingers of both my hands and look down. Again, just gently mobilizing the neck a few times. And then coming back through center. Right knee lifts. Plant the foot. Check the shoulder, and oh, that feels good. A little tighter on this side for me. How about you? We'll go through this one more time per side. Nice. Coming back to all fours. We'll take some time to find our neutral back and go through a bear hold. So neutral is the sort of middle ground of your flexion and extension. So shoulders away from ears. I tuck the back toes and try to just float the knees off the floor. Again, I'm sort of checking how I'm distributing the weight through my hands, using my fingers as well. Nice deep breathing and in and out through the nose. 3 to 5 breath cycles in that bear position. You can take a moment after that to just stretch out the wrists. I bring the palms up and give them a little pressure just to stretch the wrists in flexion. So much of our work has the wrists loaded in extension. Let's try a plank hold, again for 3 to 5 breaths. Feel free to take this to an elevated surface or a wall. It works very well, just creating that tension. As you step back, you can activate your hip muscles, squeezing them a little bit, and then refocus on the breath. Things to watch for, that you're not collapsing through the shoulders or dropping your head down. So keep everything nice and neutral, relatively straight with the normal curves of our neck and back. Oh, that looks good. All right, so now we're going to transition to half kneeling. And this morning in half kneeling, it's going to take us through a few different things. First, I want to work on leveling the hips. Not only this way, but this way. So if you have a big arch in your back and you tend to sort of sit in extension, just kind of think about floating your posture or bringing the belt buckle up a little bit. So you're in this nice aligned position. You can start to rock forward, knee over the midfoot, and come back up to standing, relaxing through the neck and shoulders. And as you go forward, try to get a stretch through the heel without lifting. You can pull your heel in a little closer and go a little further as long as that feels okay on the knee and you get some good ankle mobility. After about 5 of those, let's take the front foot and window wiper it to the left and to the right. This is a version of knee cars. The bones underneath the knee are rotating, trying to keep the foot toes spread. Pretty easy for me because I have my toe spreaders on right now. And after about 5 of these, trying to keep the knee over the heel, take the foot out wide and see if you can do the splits. Okay, so now I'm just opening my fingers, trying to push my heel away from my knee and come back up. I'll do about 5 of these. So just sinking in, creating some space through your hips, keeping the breath nice and deep, not too fast. Chill, Sheila, chill. Now, before we switch sides, just bring your front foot to somewhere where you feel balanced, and then we'll spread the fingers and go through our shoulder mobility. So as I bring my hands up, I'm tracing where my shoulders will go without extending into my back. So keep that posture floating over the knee. Try to go as slow as you can. And as you bring your hands around, you're going to have to rotate your palms back. Go nice and slow so that you can kind of create a movement map to where your shoulders are going to function for you today. I was going to say perform, but I don't know if that's a good word for it. Here's internal rotation of my right hand. Where do my fingers touch? Internal rotation of my left hand, my left shoulder. And then when you're ready, you can rewind. So slowly tracing that movement map, opening up the shoulders, spread the fingers, reach, reach, reach. Excellent. Okay, so going slow is the only way to access that map. Now we're switching sides. Feel free to put more support underneath your knee if your knee is sensitive, or take it to standing and do some of these moves from standing. So now I'm leveling my hips again. Feel nice and stacked in my posture, and I'll work on the knee going over the midfoot. I'm going to pull that heel in a little bit more and just take my time, stretch out through my ankle. After about 5 of these, we'll do the foot window wipers, so keeping the knee over the heel. Rotating. Easier said than done. I often think of the knee as a hinge joint, but there is a lot of rotation going on with the knee, with the bones above and below it. Okay, and then taking the leg out for the splits, opening up the fingers. Good. Nice work. And back to center. We'll go through the shoulder cars one more time. So again, side view would just be so easy to bring the arms up and extend back. So really work on keeping the hips tucked under. Nice tall posture. Breathe. How is this feeling between sides? Kind of working in the left and the right shoulder complex. Hands rotate, palms out, thumbs back. Give yourself that little check again. And then slowly bringing this back around. Nice work. It's actually a little challenging to go that slow sometimes. Now we're gonna go into a half kneeling halo. So I'm taking a dumbbell or a small weight. I'm gonna switch knees again just because we've been on the knee for a while. With the halo, we'll go, let's go 3 times around on each side, and then we'll get lying on the back and do some ankle work. So the half kneeling position with the front foot somewhere where you're relatively steady. You can sit back and pick up a weight, hold it upside down if it's a kettlebell or a dumbbell. You could also just use a ball and or your hands. And as you come around, what we're working on here is not leaning to the side. So it uses the core to stay upright in posture. And as you bring the weight around, you're not only not leaning to the sides, but not leaning back. So your front core muscles get some work as well. Keep breathing nice and deep through your nose if you can, and complete 3 circles each way. Then we'll switch knees. Do the same thing. Good. Okay, so we find that kneeling position, upright posture. Here we go. Excellent. Okay, so we'll move now to work on the knee bends and some ankle work. I like to do this with a stretch strap that has loops, but you could also use a stretchy band like this and either just wrap it around the end of your foot or put a loop in it to slip your foot in. Getting a little hot in here, so turn my fireplace off. Okay, so this is taking some time to align your posture on the floor, adjust your clothing, and then from this position, you can have the non-working leg straight. If you haven't done a lot of this work, you might want to bend your knee. Feel free to do this sitting in a chair, just extending one leg out, bending the knee a little, and fully extending. So the tissues through the backside of the length or leg, you want to find the length. So if you carry a lot of tension through this backside of your leg, the tendency is to sort of be here. And I'd like to see if you can find a place to fully extend your leg after about 5 knee bends and extends. So holding that leg in the lengthened position, now you can work your ankle. So here is corrected to here. Take some time to slowly find the end range. Open up the foot. You can do about 3 of each of the moves on the slower side, and then try to find that end range with a faster movement. Then keep the toes to the shin, rolling the sole of the foot to the midline and out. That's how a lot of ankle sprains, they have an inversion and eversion component, inversion, eversion. Find your end range, try and keep the leg still. I just noticed mine wasn't so still. And here's the faster version. Try that with your toes pointed. Rolling the foot in, I get a nice stretch through the front side of my ankle. And then finish with some slow circles. And then pick up the pace. And then what about the other direction? Good stuff. Okay, let's switch sides. Time well spent for improving overall fitness, balance, posture, walking speed. Oh, the list goes on. So readjusting posture, starting with those knee bends. Maybe one leg feels a little tighter than the other. Finding the place that you can hold the leg with the tissues at length. Working on the ankle, spreading the toes. 3 slow, 3 faster. Rolling that ankle in and out. Pointing the toes, doing the same thing. And then into some circles, slow and faster. And other direction. Amazing how that can feel a little tiring in the ankle. Okay, from here we're going to take it to some hip turns. So sitting with your hands behind you. I know some of you are doing this from a chair, so you could certainly just sit in a chair and rotate the legs side to side. Try to get some movement right from your hips. That's great. Find your end range that you can access. You can turn your head the opposite way to your knees. Feels pretty good. And then settling into one side. Okay, so taking some time to settle into one side and leaning towards your front knee, turning your torso more towards your foot. Going to give you a bit more stretch in this front hip. You can try to push your leg down between your knee and your heel as you pitch forward into the floor. That might get a little bit more of a stretch response there. Good, and after about 10 pulses, let's just pop down to the elbow and work on what range of motion we can access with our back leg. So this is internal rotation of the hip. You can also try to press the leg down between the knee and the foot into the floor here. It doesn't really look like I'm doing anything, but push down. Stay centered in your shoulder. So Getting strong here while we're working the hip. And then taking some time to come over to the other side. Feeling in a little bit of a mellow mood, like going slow and just really feeling things out today, which is good because that's how we can make some progress with the interior biology, the joint capsule, creating space of which to work within to get strong, pushing down for a few pulses. There's a time to be fast. This is not it. Coming down to the elbow, checking the internal rotation of this side. If you have your hand here, you can actually sort of feel the bone rotating in. Don't forget a few presses down. Release. Press down. Good start to creating some more space in our hips. Okay, we're going to transition from here to frog rocks. So coming onto hands and knees, I take the knees a little wider so that I can sit my hips back and I have lots of room to move. This is somewhat like a squat. If I was standing and my feet were closer together, I'd be a bit limited in the depth that I could go. So I go a little wider. You can turn your feet out and get a little sense of what's going on in the ankles as you sit your hips back. A few times straight, and then bias your weight over to one side. So now I'm sitting over, getting a stretch through my left inner thigh as I sit my hips over to the right, and then vice versa. And feeling out one side or one ankle that's a little tighter, then just hang out there a little bit longer. Try and hold it for some breath cycles. Coming back to center, making sure your hands feel okay. So spread the fingers, make sure there's no tenting in your knuckles so your hands are nice and flat. Come forward and weight shift into your hands. And then as you sit back, let's turn and look gently side to side. So just taking this movement nice and slow as you be curious with your eyes and get some motion into your neck very gently and slowly up and over. What about down and through? That feels great. Let's finish with some hip cars. So our classic hip circle, coming hands under shoulders, knees under hips, bowing my neutral back and gently tuck my back toes. So now the challenge is to take the knee off in as big a circle as I can access through my hip, keeping the posture and the breath going. I'm going very slow, so I'm going to just say one circle in each direction per side. And if you're following along with me on the video, that's the first circle. So now I'm reversing the direction. So if you've gone faster than that, just do an extra one. But know that that's how slow I'm taking it. And I'm really feeling the work component. I'm going to have to take a moment to just shake out my wrists before I do the other side. Woohoo! That's a core exercise too. Okay, setting up for side two. Here we go. Nice and slow. Not weight shifting to your non-moving side, so work hard at keeping the weight equal between your hands. Push into the floor and your hands. You can almost tell from my voice that I'm working hard here. And then switching direction. Here I go. Bringing that all the way back around. All right, so I'm going to take us to half kneeling for the windmill next. So I'm just going to take some time to come back to half kneeling, open up the front foot and pivot the back foot. And today I'm just going to go with body weight. So I'm going to take my arm overhead of the up knee side, tip to the hand, and then come back up, anchoring in the shoulder. So tip and come back up. And we'll do that about 3 times per side, just opening up the shoulder. I gently turn and look up as I tip. Come over to the other side. Up knee side, tip, look up, come back up, straight ahead. If you wanted to add some breath, you could breathe in nice and deep as you tip. Exhale as you come back up. And there we go. A little warm up of half kneeling windmill. So next we take it to standing. We're going to work on some balance reaches. And so take some time to find yourself a little space. If you want to do your balance reaches in the air, that's just great. Set up your base leg and reach, arms forward, leg back. But if you feel like you want a little guidance, a little check-in of what is level, then reach for a piece of furniture. So here I can reach for the fireplace and just work on a little bit of support to level out hips and shoulders, pushing this back leg into extension. So I see fully extending the knee. When I'm ready to come up, I can take a breath in, lighten the use of the fireplace, and then try to control myself back up to standing. So take about 3 per side and just kind of meet yourself where you're at. Some days are better than others with balance, and starting with your hands overhead is going to be harder, sort of a longer lever to control through your hips, through your core. Take the hands off the balance support, breathe in, recreate a little bit more intra-abdominal pressure, and there you go. From here, we're going to take it to hinging with weight. So I'm take a weight that's, this is 15-pound kettlebell. I'm going to do the same movement, but instead of the arms going forward, I'm just allowing the weight to help counterlever this hinge. Again, we'll go with about 3 per side. Take some time to get good posture. Take a breath in. And as you hinge, try to keep all those cues like level shoulders, level hips. Rebreathe. So when I breathe in, I create that little intra-abdominal brace. That helps to stabilize myself and improve balance. So breathe in, hinge. I have some awareness through my shoulder blades and upper back. Come back up to posture. Switch sides. Lots going on with this one. Second exercise is the squat and double press, up to 8 repetitions. So some modifications as we go through this, but if you have some dumbbells or kettlebells that you know you can press overhead, okay, then you know you're good to go. Finding a squat position, feet hip width or wider, toes straight or turned out. You want to be able to sit down in the squat without your back position changing, stop, and then do a nice double overhead press, up to 8 of these. But listen to your body. I'm inhaling as I go down, stopping here with good posture and pressing overhead. Remember all the shoulder cars we did for warming up, creating that movement map? Now your shoulders get to find the range they can access with load. Really awesome way to work out and get strong. Boom. There we go. Now, if your shoulders couldn't handle this overhead movement, just take the shoulder press out of it and hold the weights here and squat only. Nice job. Okay, now I'm going to go back today to our first exercise with the loaded single leg weighted hinge. And I'm going to take it up 1 kettlebell size and see how that feels. 3 per side, holding the weight in the center. When I go with a weight that's a little higher, I just want to suss out how that feels. Okay, pretty good control on one side. Check the other side. And coming back up. Feels okay, so I'm going to stick with it. If you decided to go up a weight size and your quality of your movement fell apart or didn't feel quite right on the inside, then you weren't ready for that. So always do a little check-in and just meet yourself where you're at. Kind of want to say we want adaptations, but not at the expense of hurting ourselves. Rep ranges and weights are something that in this kind of a training environment, you have to guide a little bit with your own self. Okay, so for the squat and press, speaking of going up in load, I'm going to take it to the 10-pound dumbbells and see how that feels. Okay, so up to 8 of these squats and press. When you go up in weight, maybe you don't have to do the full 8 reps. Things feel good, even. Yep, no problems. Go for it. Getting strong, time under tension. Wow, that's 7. That really felt like enough for me, so I'm gonna call it at that. Okay, now let's grab a stretchy band and work on some light shoulder external rotation, palms up, feet side by side, just gently finding different angles to work, squeezing my shoulder blades together underneath my armpits. This isn't so tight that I'm shrugging into my neck. I've got lots of liberty with the angles, some high, some low. Can even do a few hinging. When you start to feel the fatigue setting in and you can't do any more reps, time to stop. But I generally find that on a good day, I can get up to about 20. Now today, I told myself before the class that I was going to change up the order a bit so that we had some time to look at the hip hinge a bit more. So I'm going to go to the hip hinge and explain that with a set of dumbbells, breathing in as my hips go back and exhaling as I come up. With the hip hinge, the knees bend, but they don't go forward. You want to be thinking about that cue, hips back. And without weight, I don't mind showing. You're not into rounding your back as you go back. This is your neutral back. And you just want to sit the hips back and then use your hip muscles as the lever to come back up to posture. You can tighten up your hips a little bit. As you sit back, you're going to feel a little stretch in your shorts or your tights, and then come back up to your posture. If you were using a kettlebell, you might not always lift from the floor. It could be elevated so that when you have your depth position, your back feels neutral. For some folks that haven't done a lot of these movements, it takes time to develop the hip mobility and the strength to lift from the floor. Okay, so don't feel like the fact that this is awkward. Elevate that you have to do it from the floor. Lift off the floor maybe the first time, and then don't go to the floor as you go through the rest of your hinges. Okay, very nice. Now let's go to the bent over row. So taking dumbbells on the outside of the legs, sitting back and rowing the elbows to the side, working by the muscles between the shoulder blades, squeezing so that the shoulder blades come together as you come up and pull apart as you lengthen. You should not be feeling this in your back. If you do, stand up, take a moment, and then sit back again. Rep range 6, 8, 10. Okay, that's good. Now let's go through these two exercises again. So hip hinge, deadlift, the base of a kettlebell swing. But for the deadlift, I set myself up with the weight right between my heels. I'm going to sit my hips back, grab onto the weight, take a breath in and stand up. And here is my hip hinge from the side. Inhaling as my hips go back, exhaling as I come up to standing. The option of doing that with the dumbbells is nice because at the top, you can rotate the palms and work the shoulder blades a little bit. I love that. Good. Okay, let's get right into our second set of rows. Sitting the hips back. Find that nice position where you can row elbows to the sides, working those postural muscles, not feeling stress in the back, or you stand up, take a moment and regroup. I'm going to show a band option for this, just because not everybody has dumbbells that work. So you can stand in the middle, walk your hands down, and check the tension. See, I'm in a slight hinge position, and this works quite well. If it's too easy, walk your hands a little closer to your feet. And again, standing break, check the back, and here we go. Good stuff. Okay, so that was 2 sets of all of those exercises. And now I'm going to move into some balance work and a little work on the feet. So taking the balance to one foot, I'm just going to take some time to open up my toes and a slight bend in my knee. This is the balance clock. So I tap the heel forward at 12 o'clock, 1, 2. At 3 o'clock, I'm going to rotate and tap my toe down and just pretend that I'm going back to 6 o'clock tap. And then if I take my foot across to 7 o'clock, I can do a little curtsy and come out of it. It doesn't have to be exactly on the clock, but try. Switch sides, heel, 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 toe, 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 curtsy. Okay, now if you want to make this a little harder, I'll show you from the side. I'm adding a knee bend, knee bend, knee bend, knee bend. Changing up my hands just a little to help counteract the balance and over. Here we go, other side. Lots going on in the hip. Let's go one more time through that. Feeling a little fatigue in the hip because working it quite a lot. Now, if you're having trouble with balance, you could always hang on to something and still work the clock, right? Because this is getting lots of different angles through your hips. Last side. Good. Let's rev up the engines a little by going fast feet, fast hands. 30 seconds. It's a nice light landing. If this is too fast for you, then go slower. And if you want to go even faster, felt like I was going to lose the mic. 15 more seconds. Here we go. Faster, faster. Last 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and slowing it down. We'll bring it into some cross balance taps. If you have the pattern and you feel in control, blink or close your eyes. Good. About 10 more seconds. And next we'll transition to calf raises. So I'm going to demonstrate a version with a small ball between my feet. And I'm going to take my roller and tip it up just for a little balance support. So the ball's between the heels, feet are straight. It's going to take some time to align my posture. And as I exhale, I'm going to gently squeeze the ball and lift into my toes, then lowering down with as much control as possible. Exhale as you lift. Try to have all your toes nice and long and connected to the floor. So much easier said than done. We all have parts of our body that tend to be our weakest links. Injury, history, maybe some genetics, some overuse. Feet are definitely my my historical issues. But so as I come up, there's that tendency to scrunch the toes. I'm learning to try and stay connected and long in all my toes, and then come back down. Mentioned these toe spacers a few times. You can stretch your toes by tucking your foot back. It also stretches the front of the ankle. So this would be your flexion of your toes. And when you come up, this is extension. But there is an amount of pressure that goes down into the toes through all of the foot. We tend to overemphasize some parts of our feet, and that's just a learning curve of what your habit is. Okay, so I kind of just roll my foot, get a little stretch through the front side. If you cramp doing that, that might be a sign that your feet are a little tight and in need of some rolling. Let's finish with some extension reaches now. So I take my feet wider than hip width, and now I'm going to dynamically get those arms back and then reach for the roof, lift my heels. And if I have the control, I can stay up here for 3, 2, 1, and drop down. Okay, that was an okay demo, not a great one. Here we go. Up, toes connected, 3, 2, 1, and down. Up to 5 of these. Practice. 3, 2, 1, down. Reach, spread those fingers. 3, 2, 1, down. Great for posture. Open everything up. Last one. 3, 2, 1, and down. Something interesting happened to me there. My first few demos weren't really that good. I was telling myself, inner voice, keep practicing, and it did actually get a little better. So that's a great thing we can learn about our bodies, that our motor control improves with practice. So thank you so much for joining and building a stronger version of yourself with me. Next week is the last week of this program, and then I get excited about learning some new things. So stay with it, do the video a few times this week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Take care.